Welcome to Her Health Matters, where we explore the physical, mental, and social well-being of women, because your health truly matters. Today's episode is built around access, affordability, and awareness across Pennsylvania. We're diving into how to get covered, stay covered, and even how to use what you've got. First, we're going to hear from Devon, Trolley, Executive Director of Pennie, Pennsylvania's official health insurance marketplace, about how you can navigate open enrollment, compare plans intelligently, and lock in key savings. But before we do, I'm excited to introduce another expert voice, Anjanette Perry, Community Engagement Specialist with PHAN, the Pennsylvania Health Access Network. PHAN works directly in communities to help folks understand their insurance options, advocate for policy changes, and make sure no one is left behind when it comes to coverage. Then we'll transition into a third pillar of today's topic, what it means to take care of your mind as well as your body. That brings us to the Black Brain Campaign, an organization dedicated to erasing stigma around mental health in the Black community in Pennsylvania, providing free therapy resources, training Black clinicians, and helping shift culture so more women and families can get care without barriers. Next up, we have Devon Trolley, Executive Director of Pennie, Pennsylvania's official health insurance marketplace. Thank you so much for being here to discuss this important topic about open enrollment through the insurance marketplace. Really important question. Just so we start at step one, what is Pennie?
Yeah, well, Pennie is Pennsylvania's official health insurance marketplace. And what that means is it's for anyone who doesn't have health coverage from another place. So if you don't get health coverage from your job, or you make too much to qualify for Medicaid, or maybe you're not old enough yet for Medicare, Pennie is a place that really has two main benefits. One is that we're the only place to get federal premium tax credits that instantly lower the cost of health plans. We have a large variety of health plans available from many of the big insurance companies that people would be familiar with here in Pennsylvania. And the premium tax credits instantly lower the cost of those plans, and what you pay is based on your income. And the second really important part about Pennie is that it's where you go to make sure you're getting a quality health plan. A lot of plans out there say they have full benefits, and sometimes people find out too late that there's some big exclusions there. But all the health plans from Pennie have the maximum consumer protections. That mean they cover a full range of benefits, and that they have financial protections as well in the case of emergencies.
Are there other places that people go to purchase health insurance directly that are not Pennie?
There's nowhere else they can go to get the tax credits that lower the cost. I mean, sometimes people go directly to insurance companies. There are other plans out there that, again, have a lot of limitations on the coverage that are outside of Pennie that sometimes people look at. They have a lower cost, and I think, the thing to be aware of is if they have...
why would someone do this?
Yeah, if they have the thing to keep in mind is if they have a lower cost, it means they have cut something. So it means there's some benefit, or maybe they have a annual limit on what they will pay out for your medical care. Mm-hmm. That's not true for any of the plans through Pennie, which is why it's sort of a seal of quality to come through the website, because it has to, all the health plans in Pennie have to comply with the Affordable Care Act requirements.
Right, I thought all health plans, period, had to comply with the Affordable Care Act, so that's not the case.
Correct, that's not the case. Yeah, some plans outside of the marketplace do not comply with that, and we have had people call us and say, I thought I had a quality plan. They told me it was comprehensive, and I got sick and it covered nothing, and I'm stuck with this big bill, and I wish I had never signed up for it. And it's it's heartbreaking to hear those stories. So we always try to make sure we mention that as well with Pennie, of that quality aspect in addition to those access to those federal premium tax credits.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah. Sure, and thank you so much for having me on. It is open enrollment, so now is the time to be doing all these activities to look at the health plan options for 2026. And it is really important this year that people do take a look at their options and make sure that all the information is up to date. And that's for two reasons. One is that we are seeing a lot of plans and price changes this year. And so what works for you right now may not work for you next year if you already have a plan through Pennie. And if you're uninsured and you've looked before, it's a great time of year just to come back and look to see if there's a plan that works for you and your family. If you are one of the 500,000 Pennsylvanians enrolled through Pennie, then you also want to make sure all of your information is up to date, because there have been federal changes that increase the penalties if your income is wrong. So how it typically works is people say, I think I'm going to make this much income next year, and they get a premium tax credit to lower the cost of health plans based on that income. So if your income is off, that could result in you owing money back. And recent federal policies really mean that you owe all of it back. There used to be a cap on that. So we want to make sure that anyone who comes to look through Pennie and anyone who gets coverage through Pennie with those premium tax credits, really make sure that their income is up to date. And then once you know how much premium tax credit you qualify for, really taking a look at all of your health plan options.
Okay, that is really important because I'm sure people don't want to think they got a benefit only to find out later they have a big bill. So if Congress renew the enhanced tax credit sometime between now and January, even after people have already enrolled, how quickly can Pennie update premiums and notify enrollees? What's the technical process for that?
Yeah, it's a great question. And maybe I'll take a step back before getting to the technical piece, just to talk for anyone who's not familiar that the enhanced tax credits have made coverage through Pennie much more affordable since about 2021. There were tax credits before that, but they were made more generous at every income level and to really anyone who comes in to enroll through the marketplace. Those expire at the end of this year, so what's happening is that costs for 2026 plans are going up significantly. On average in Pennsylvania, it means people are going to pay double what they pay now to keep their plan for next year. Wow. So that's another reason to really come in during this open enrollment if you are a Pennie enrollee and make sure the coverage still works for you. But if people have been following along in the news, this has been a very hotly debated topic. And so if Congress does act to continue this really important affordability factor, we at Pennie are going to do everything we can to make that update as quickly as possible. It's not going to be a next day thing. It's going to take us a little bit of time to make sure that we can deliver all of the tax credits that people are eligible for. So that might take us a little bit of time, but once we do make those updates, we will make sure that anyone who's interested in coverage or has coverage through Pennie has enough time to look at their options again with that new cost. And so it is really important at that point for people to pay attention to kind of what's going on.
Right. So with the tax credit, is it something that people get on the back end, like at the end of the year, or does it affect their premium month to month?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty unique tax credit in that people get it on the spot. So it's based on income. So a full price plan that you might buy from, any number of insurance companies in Pennsylvania might cost on average $500 or $600 a month. But because what you pay through Pennie is based on income, some people pay $10 for that same plan or $100 or $300. And that's because those premium tax credits are given right on the spot to lower that cost of coverage. So you don't pay that full price really at all during the year. And then at tax time, what IRS does when you file your taxes is they look at how much income you actually made and how much tax credit you got. And you either get more tax credit if you overestimated your income, or that's a case where you might have to owe some back if you underestimated.
How do you know if you were actually benefiting from a tax credit? I'm asking for a friend named me. How do you know if you were benefiting from a tax credit? I felt like the plan was pretty expensive. I don't think I qualified for a tax credit. So what should I expect in terms of my price change if I didn't have a tax credit to begin with?
Yeah, I think the best way to tell if you are getting a tax credit is to go to your Pennie account. So that's PENNIE.com. I'm listing it out because there are a lot of lookalike websites that are not actually Pennie. And so really important to make sure that you're going to the official health insurance marketplace website. So that's a great way to know. And how it works is that no one pays more than 8.5% of income towards their health insurance premium. So some people have incomes where they're not paying more than 8.5% of their income, so they wouldn't get a tax credit just because that's how the numbers are working out. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people, 9 and 10, currently through Pennie are getting a tax credit about 10% don't and just pay that kind of full price. And really the reason to come through Pennie if you're not getting a tax credit is because we're the only place to know that you're guaranteed all the consumer protections. So all the health plans through Pennie have to meet federal and state requirements that they have to cover pre-existing conditions, have to cover a wide range of essential health benefits like hospitalization or prescription drugs, maternity care, a lot of really important benefits. And various others as well. So that's sort of the reason to come to Pennie even if you may not qualify for a tax credit, it kind of has that quality aspect to it.
Okay, got it. So again, asking for myself, auto renewal versus active shopping. So Pennie typically will auto renew people into their current plan. I think most people's employers will do the same thing. Given this year's dramatic cost changes, what is Pennie doing differently to alert people that they must actively shop instead of letting auto renewal happen?
Yep. And so we do auto renew people at Pennie, similar to how, as you mentioned, employer coverage and car insurance, it's really a pretty standard practice. So we are doing that, but we are really concerned in watching this because the cost increases are going up for people so much that we want to make sure that people are comfortable with the new plan they have and the new premium that they're going to have. So we're using every communication tool we have between email and phone calls and letters, and notices and account flags to try to make sure that every single person comes back in to update their information and look at their plan and change it if they want to. And that's a new goal. Usually if people's income hasn't changed and they're happy with their plan, we kind of are happy to let people carry that into the next year. That works well for a lot of the people who enroll. This year is different. And so it's a great question because our goal really is to have every single person who has coverage through Pennie today come in and make those updates and confirm that the plan still works for them next year.
Got it. In terms of the plans that are available and how competitive the options are, how many insurance carriers are participating in Pennie for 2026? Are there counties where people have limited options? And how does carrier participation this year compare to previous years, given the uncertainty around tax credits?
Yeah, so we are lucky to have a lot of insurers participating. And the reason that makes us lucky is because it means a lot of plan choices for people when they come in to look. And that's really important this year when we see wide price changes and some people are seeing really big cost increases. We're hoping that the wide variety of plans means that people will be able to find something else that works for them. Now, oftentimes that means trading off deductibles or premiums or looking at different benefits, but we are hoping and really encouraging everyone to come in and take a look at other plan options because there might still be something that works for them that allows them to keep coverage instead of going uninsured, which has a lot of risks for medical bankruptcy in case of emergency or sort of not being able to get preventive care and get those screenings to catch things early. So really trying to encourage people to look at the whole range of options and see if there's something that will still work.
That's actually something that while I'm not an insurance expert at all, and I'm a consumer, as I've mentioned, that is part of the reason, a big part of the reason why I didn't want to be at risk, knowing that I'm a family physician, I could probably diagnose and figure out what to do for most of my own health problems if I really needed to. But if, heaven forbid, I got a really serious diagnosis, I'm not going to go bankrupt over a $10,000 deductible, but I could go bankrupt over a $100,000 hospitalization or something unexpected like that, which happens. I thought it was pretty exciting that this year there were some positive things for my practice out of the big, beautiful bill in terms of direct primary care, this unique way of many family physicians who remain independent to create a membership directly with patients. And this is the first year that they've made it officially allowable that health savings account funds can be used to pay your direct primary care membership, and it counts against your deductible. And I noticed when I looked at my plan that last year my high deductible plan was not HSA eligible, but this year it is. So I thought that was an interesting thing. I'm going to have to take a look at it more, but that might be something for people to investigate a little bit more because that actually is a new option that gives people flexibility to have some control over their costs. Because I think if you're like me, you look and you say, well, $4,000 deductible, I don't think I'm going to use $4,000 in medical care, but I might use $1,800 in primary care. And that would be great to have like a doctor at my disposal that I can call or text whenever I need or come in whenever I need and not have to worry that each time I go, I'm going to have an additional cost. So that's something that I would tell our viewers and listeners to check into so they can understand how that might work with their benefits to save them some money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, and especially this year, if people might be looking at plans with higher deductibles to try to get that monthly premium lower, I think things like this could be a real, just really looking at all the different options of how, maybe there's still that access to healthcare and to primary care in a way that works with the high deductible. So I think that's a great thing to point out.
Yep. I know that Pennie projected that approximately 150,000 people might drop coverage due to the cost increases. What data informed that projection, and what impact would that level of disenrollment have on the marketplace's stability for 2027 and beyond? I've heard about this death spiral where people just drop out of the system and then the costs for everyone become prohibitive and it just doesn't work.
Yeah, and this is exactly why we're so concerned about these extra enhanced tax credits expiring, because enrollment has grown 50% since they were put in place. What we hear when you go out and talk to Pennsylvanians is that their number one barrier to coverage is cost. And so the enhanced tax credits have had a really direct impact on addressing that barrier and allowing people to enroll who've never been able to enroll in coverage before. So when we look at what we expect to happen when costs are doubling is really kind of reverting back to where we were with enrollment before that additional affordability went into place. So that's around 2020. And so that really informed the projection that we could lose up to 150,000 people from coverage. And we also look at sometimes there are pockets of counties or other times when there are really high costs, and we've seen that level of drop when we have those sort of more targeted or sort of narrow changes like that. So that's what led to that. And, I think it has definitely a negative impact on the marketplace because a lot of times the first people to drop out of coverage when the costs go up are young and healthy. And, kind of insurance 101 is you need both healthy and sick people in order to have a balanced risk pool so that you can keep costs down for everyone. So when you have healthy people dropping out, that's going to increase costs next year and sort of continue to increase costs over time if you're not kind of having that balance. And the other aspect I would say, I guess two others. One is that could have a negative impact on the healthcare system. You're taking people who are covered right now, and doctors and hospitals are getting private health insurance reimbursement rates, and you're shifting that to uncompensated care. And so we have heard from hospitals in Pennsylvania that they are very worried about what happens when you increase the uninsured rate. Mm-hmm. And finally, many of our enrollees are small business owners in a range of, contractors, barbers, hairstylists, gig workers, part-time workers, a lot of different people. And I think what we hear, especially from the small business owners, is that they are worried that a cost increase on health insurance is going to pull money away from their business. Mm-hmm. So that means they're not hiring that extra person, or they have to increase their costs of their products and services to kind of push those costs out into local economies. So it's concerning on many levels, and we are serve an educational role when it comes to policy. So we've really been trying to convey these impacts to policymakers so that they know very clearly like what the impact's going to be here in Pennsylvania.
Right. And I think for a young person who these are dollars and cents, it's not a very convincing argument to do it for America, do it for the rest of the people who are sick. But I think if people understand the financial impact mm-hmm. of an unexpected health emergency where even if, your premium was $1,000 a month, $12,000 a year, you could recover from $1 million one time.
Yeah.
And it can happen so quickly. We have such an advanced technology medical system where the capabilities are there, but they come at a cost. So I think that's something people really have to remember, that a little bit of strain versus something that could totally take you out the game is two different things.
Yeah, I think of my husband when we were in our 20s. I think he considered himself fit and not really susceptible to getting injured. And he was playing a baseball game with his friends and he tore his patellar tendon. He had to have surgery, to fix that. And there was a lot of extended care with that. Now, we were lucky to have insurance, but if we weren't, that's something that would have cost tens of thousands of dollars,
Right.
Maybe nearly close to $100,000. So that's not something that, us in our 20s would have been able to really handle at all. So I think, that's just, you never know. And it's, not to scare people, but you really never know when you're going to get sick.
The only two people in my household who'd ever had surgery are my children. My son ended up needing 2 knee surgeries and some type of bone transplant, and he's still in his 20s. And my daughter broke her leg and, in half and had to be hospitalized for a couple of days. So you really don't ever know. I did want to ask about special enrollment periods versus, you mentioned that right now we're in an open enrollment period. But if someone loses their job or they had insurance or has another qualifying life event, they get married, I don't know if it counts if you get pregnant or get divorced. If you have a qualifying life event after open enrollment period ends, how do special enrollment periods work? And have the rules around special enrollment periods changed for 2026?
Yeah, it's a great question. And to start, just a little bit about open enrollment. So it is really the only time of year for people to come in and enroll, especially if you're uninsured. And it's the time to enroll for coverage for next year. And so what happens is if you miss this period, in general, you're going to be locked out until this time next year, unless, as you mentioned, you have a qualifying life event. And those are those special circumstances that allow you to still enroll in coverage during the year. So that is, if you lose your coverage. So that includes if you lose your job and you've lost your employer coverage, or maybe you qualify for Medicaid and you've made a little bit more income and you no longer qualify for Medicaid. We actually have a very direct relationship with Medicaid at the state level where we pass applications back and forth depending on people's income to find the right program for them. And so those are situations where if you lose your coverage, that's a qualifying life event. If you move to Pennsylvania, and then, as you mentioned, a lot of life events. If you have a baby or get divorced or get married, a lot of times those you need to demonstrate that you've had coverage up to that point, but that allows you to change coverage or have your whole family getting on the same plan together at that point. And that's really aimed at making sure that people don't wait until they get sick to enroll in coverage, because if everyone waited, you kind of go back to the risk pool problem where you only have sick people in insurance, and there's sort of no way to make that work.
That's why they penalize you even signing up for Medicare.
Yes. Yep. It's the same.
If you delay. And that was an important nuance that you mentioned as well, that you said that if someone didn't have coverage and then they had a qualifying event, that by itself might not make them qualified to enroll in the special enrollment period?
Right. So if you say you get married and neither you nor your new spouse had coverage before, that would be more in that situation where you're waiting till you get sick or something like that to get coverage. So some of those life event ones where it has to do with a household change, there is usually a question about, do you have other coverage that you're leaving, but you want to change now that you are married or getting a divorce or having a baby or something. So having a baby does allow you to enroll. Sometimes, and that one does have different rules as well. So really try to cover the babies.
Okay, good to know. Good to know. And the moms with child.
Yes,
okay.
Yeah. And there are some different Medicaid covers higher incomes with pregnant women and babies. So actually we see a lot of people covered by Medicaid up to certain points before they're kind of transitioned over to the marketplace.
Got it. So many questions. What's your message to someone who opens their renewal notice, sees their premium double, and thinks, I just can't afford this?
Yeah. We are trying to use an all of the above approach for communication. And so we are sending letters, we are sending emails to people that we have emails for. We also try to text people as much as we can. We have to get a permission from people to do that. So we actually encourage people in your account to say that you allow us to text, because we only text really important things. We're not texting every day. Like sometimes, when you sign up at a store, you get the daily text. We don't do that. We just really important messages to get through. It's how we use that.
You won't get a text if you said, no, don't text me. You won't get a text.
Right. You have to opt into it.
Got it.
So you really have to actively say that you're willing to be texted. So we really try to do all of those. Sometimes we call people, outbound calling, if there's specific issues that we're trying to get in touch with people on, and we'll leave voicemails. So we really do just try to use every single tool at our disposal. I think the hard part is that all of those communication channels are flooded with tons of information from every store you've ever visited in your life. And it is hard to cut through the noise. So I think this year in particular, just so important, if you're getting mail from Pennie or from your insurance company, please make sure to open it, because we're sending a lot of information now. There are federal policies that are up in the air right now. If those change, we will be immediately sending a lot of communication about those. We want to make sure no one misses those communications and those opportunities. When looking at people who are looking at those cost increases this year and are just really feeling stuck in terms of how large those increases are, not being able to adjust to those, I think the main message is to shop. I think our hope is that people will be able to find something else that they could fit in the budget, kind of keeping in mind the risks of going uninsured. And the other point I'll make is that on average it's doubling, but there really are a lot of differences based on income, based on geography. That number is not the same everywhere. So you might be in an area where that number isn't as big, and you might be able to find something else a little bit more than folks in other parts of the state. So the only way to know is to come in and check. And I think for people who are uninsured and might be listening to this and saying, oh gosh, cost increases, it all sounds expensive. The same message to people who don't have coverage now: you don't know until you look. There are still some premium tax credits available, even though they're going down. And we do have a pretty quick way to check, where you just have to put in your zip code, your birth dates, and your income. And you can just see right away kind of what premium tax credit you might get and what type of health plan you might be able to, what the premiums would be for that health plan. And that's before completing any application or anything like that for the tax credit. That's a really quick way just to look, just to see if that's something that can work for you next year. And so really encourage everyone to do that. The best way is just to go in there and look and really weigh the options. We kind of understand that it's going to be a tough decision for a lot of people, that, household budgets are stretched for a lot of people, and that many people are going to have a tough time with these types of increases. And we fully understand that. And we hope that the federal government addresses it, but we, aren't able to really change those costs ourselves.
Right. Can you give our listeners a website that they can go to where they can find this information and try to better understand what these changes are? In case they, threw all their mail in the shredder or emptied out their folder in their emails and opted out of the text messages.
Yeah, so the best thing to do is go directly to pennie.com, which is PENNIE.com. And there you can log into your account and see all of your personalized information around your premium tax credit and what your health plan is for next year. We also have on our homepage a link to that savings calculator. So if you're not already a Pennie enrollee, that's where you would click just to do that 5-minute check on what you might be able to get. And we also have on that front landing page a button that's called What's New, that kind of explains all these changes as well, since there have been a lot of federal changes that have come through. And so that's really the best way to go. I will say, unfortunately, we have seen, and we do see, websites that look alike, that try to be lookalikes to Pennie, and they end up kind of being pretty aggressive with their marketing techniques and lots of phone calls and things like that.
Maybe we can put up an image of what it looks like, the legitimate site looks like. And I have a suggestion as a direct primary care physician that it might be helpful to include in some of that information how the direct primary care health savings account, how that works and how people would pair a direct primary care membership with a practice like mine with their high deductible plan through Pennie, which might be, the way they can manage their costs when they see, $4,000 deductible. Oh my gosh, what if I get the flu?
Yeah, it's a great idea. From Pennie's perspective, we are all about providing people as much information they need so they have the tools to make the most informed choice and figure out what's best for them and their families. So I think that's a great idea.
Okay. Thanks for coming in. Very important topic. And I hope that people do take your advice to sign up because you really never know what can happen with your health. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, you're tuned in to Her Health Matters with Dr. Sophia Shabazz. We are deeply grateful for the community support that keeps this independent program on air. Your tax-deductible donation to Community Hero helps us continue bringing vital health information to you. Visit communityheropa.org/donate to support conversations like the one you are hearing right now. Today, we're taking a closer look at access to healthcare. Anjanette, welcome to Her Health Matters. I'm so glad you're here today. So exactly what does PHAN do? What should I expect when I call or go online?
Okay, so once you give our office a call, we do have our PHAN helpline. You'll call us in and we'll screen you, meaning we'll see what exactly do you need. So we would need to know your family size, your income, if you have any children, things of that nature. What we would do, we would make from the beginning to the end, we'll complete an application for you. We'll go over your health options. We'll let you know if you're maybe eligible for Medicaid, if you're eligible for CHIP, or if we need to do a Pennie application. Mm-hmm. Either way, any of those applications will complete with you from the beginning to the end. We try to make it as easy as possible for all of our callers. Any documents that you need to submit, you'll just submit them to us and we'll make sure that all that information is uploaded to your application. If you have any issues, have any problems, we'll help to resolve those issues as well. And our main goal is to make sure that you walk out with health insurance coverage. So we'll keep fighting for you until you actually have your health insurance card.
How much time should someone set aside to go through that whole process?
So what you'll do is once you give us a call, we'll set up an appointment for you. An application process, depending on what type of application, shouldn't take no longer than an hour. And we just need to go over basically household information, name, telephone number, everyone in your household, things of that nature. We'll make sure everything is on the application. We'll confirm everything, and we submit it into, if it's to Pennie, we'll submit it to Pennie. If it's the medical assistance, we'll submit those documents into the county assistance office. After that, we get the documents, and the caller has to do nothing else. We'll complete everything else for them. If the county or if someone is asking for additional documents, we'll make sure those things are turned in. We'll get in contact with the caller to make sure they get us the documents so that everything is completed. Like I said, our goal is to make sure our callers have health insurance coverage.
Are there other things that PHAN does besides help people to complete these applications?
Sure, PHAN definitely, we're an advocacy group. So we advocate for all things health insurance coverage throughout the state of Pennsylvania.
Okay. And you work specifically with immigrants and diverse communities here in Pennsylvania. I understand that there have also been some rule changes that affect certain immigrants' eligibility for Pennie coverage starting in 2026. Can you explain what's changed with that and who might be affected?
Yes, so our immigrant population, if they are low income under the 100% federal poverty guideline, which means their income is already very low. The change is that they're no longer eligible for any tax credits. So we're already looking at a population that already have low income and they're not eligible for any help in regards to a Pennie plan. So yes, they're still eligible for Pennie, but they would have to pay an at-cost plan, which is really not affordable because that population is already low income.
And that's different from another low income person who's not an immigrant in what way?
Well, the thing is, because they are immigrants, normally if someone has low income, they may be eligible for medical assistance, right?
Oh.
But because they are immigrants and they're under the 5-year bar, they are not eligible for medical assistance.
Got it.
So then we send them over to Pennie. And in the past, they were able to receive subsidies that had, that they were able to afford coverage because they didn't have any income. But coming in 2026, they're no longer eligible for those tax credits. So that's why now basically they're saying, yes, you're still eligible for Pennie,
right,
but you would have to pay an at-cost plan.
Right. And it's interesting because you might hear certain groups of people say, well, I mean, what do I care? If someone who's not American can get these benefits and, we're struggling to get the same benefits. The issue is that they could still end up in the emergency room and then we still all collectively pay it.
Of course. So that's why it's most important for people to have health coverage. We want them to have preventive care and wellness visits, things of that nature. Because if they don't have coverage, what's going to happen is they're going to prolong getting care and possibly end up in the emergency rooms overtaxing. And then the economy or the people, American people, are still going to pay because they're still going to need coverage and they're still going to need services anyway. It's better just to have the coverage up front to try to, do preventive care than pay on the back end, which is going to be much larger costs.
Right. That's my soapbox as a primary care physician in general. So I got it. So, and that's critical information because if someone is an immigrant and they previously qualified through these tax credits, because of these tax credits through Pennie, but they might not in 2026. So now what should they do? What are their options? You just said Medicaid is probably not an option.
They could give our helpline a call. PHAN does have a helpline of trained
PHAN
assister is Pennsylvania Health Access Network. And we do have trained assisters, and we could go through basically like screen them just to see what they possibly may be eligible for. Some immigrant families have mixed statuses. The parents may not have a status, or they may still be under the 5-year bar, but children are exempt from the 5-year bar. So we may have, if they have lawfully present documents, the children may still be eligible for Medicaid or CHIP, and we might can screen the parents for something else. Even if they can't afford a Pennie plan, we can probably still offer them like other resources. It may be free or low cost providers to make sure they get those wellness visits, vaccinations, medication, things of that nature.
Another plug for direct primary care.
Yes, so that we still, so that those people are still being seen and still receiving the services that they need.
Got it. And you mentioned one way that PHAN can help people figure this out by getting this trained assistant to go through their options. How would they access that?
So definitely they can give our office a call. They can call us. We do have a toll-free number. Our number is 877-570-3642, or they can access our information on the website at PAHealthAccess.org.
PAHealthAccess.org. Got
Yes.
it. That's our show for today. This show is produced by Community Hero Action Group, a 501c3 nonprofit committed to improving the health and wellness of African American women. Your support through communityheropa.org/donate helps keep these important conversations on air. Together, we can continue to build a healthier community. So please donate today. There's no gift too small or too large. Again, that's communityheropa.org/donate. You can catch this episode and all previous episodes on our website at communityheropa.org. Thank you for tuning in to the Her Health Matters show. I'm your host, Dr. Sophia Shabazz, signing off. Until next time, be healthy, be you, because your health matters. Peace.